So my encouragement today as we think about forgiveness, forgiveness is a choice. Forgiveness is something that if you're in unforgiveness, bitterness, it will erode your spirit. Unforgiveness is sort of like you taking the poison and expecting the other person to die. You've heard that before, as many pastors use it as a story. And strife, God clearly talks about in Ephesians 4:31, let all bitterness and wrath and anger, just get rid of it. Now, in the secular world, I teach a concept called suspending. And here's what we mean by this. Suspending is the ability to not be offended. As soon as you are offended by what anybody says, you are now breaking relationship. It doesn't matter what I say to you, I can't make you offended. So Dr. David Burns, who wrote the book, Feeling Good, this is his quote, and I'll read it to you. No matter how offensive or how unfair others might appear to you, they do not, never did, and never will upset you. The bitter truth is that you're the only one who's creating every last ounce of irritation, frustration, even outrage you experience. You know what? You're responsible for being upset. You're responsible for being bitter. But when it comes to forgiveness, you're the one that has to forgive. Now, here's the key. Forgiveness does not condone the act of the other individual. Maybe there was a legitimate concern. We're not saying that what the other person did was okay, but by forgiving, you are freeing yourself. If you stay in unforgiveness, then you allow whoever the offender's been to have control over you for the rest of your life. And God's word's clear. Give it to Him. He's the one who's going to take care of it. Forgive him. So when my mother, who grew up as an adult child of an alcoholic, she's now in her 80s and still has unforgiveness or trauma from that situation. So it doesn't matter what occurs, we need to let it go, because unforgiveness actually does affect us physically. There was a study done of divorced women, and do you know that divorced women that maintain bitterness had a 25% increase in heart attacks? So bitterness is this putrid, toxic thing in our bodies. I had a friend down the street, and it was very, very unfortunate. It was many years ago. And the mother let her son, who was 16 years of age, go out on a party. I think it was sort of like a grad thing for grade 10 or 11, I don't recall. But unfortunately, he was killed in a car accident. She never forgave herself for letting him go. And 10 years later, nobody had ever even walked into the room, and she was a shell of her former self. I'm not saying that, losing a child's not traumatic and that there's not emotions that attach to it, but she never forgave herself. So forgiveness is also about yourself. And so for some of you watching, it's not just forgiving others for their offenses, but it's forgiving yourself for something you did or didn't do. Let it go. Give it to God. You want to be free of that so that you can be and bring your best to other individuals. Today, just think, is there anything you hold against anybody else? Let it go. There's no benefit to it. You'll be free from it. Is there anything that you have guilt, where you have unforgiveness towards yourself? Let it go, and you will be free to bring your best. I'm Dr. Ken Keis.